Hello there, welcome to another episode of The Path to Transformation. My name is Tammy and I am your host today. If you are new here, I began this podcast about a year ago, but everything really started for me after my mom passed away. I was really burnt out and then my mental health really suffered and I got help, but it wasn't until COVID that I was, able to pause and realize wait a second, I'm not taking care of myself still, even though I thought I was. And yeah, I started doing more inner work and it led me to discovering the work that I'm meant to be doing. So I am a coach, I am a sound healer, podcaster, as you can tell, and I run a grief support group for 20 and 30 something. So if you are grieving a loss of some type and you fit into that age bracket and you are interested in having a community, because it's so important in my opinion because we feel so alone during that time, definitely shoot me a DM at TammyU_wellness and let me know that you are interested. And yeah, so today I really would love to talk about when we feel rushed and when we have when we look at a timeline and when we're like, oh my gosh, it's not happening for me. And we can get really overwhelmed. And I know, this timeline, we might compare ourselves to others and oh, I'm almost 29 and I'm living with, my parents still and I don't have my own house and I'm not married or engaged or even relatively close to finding a serious person, wherever you are, totally is okay. And I think the timeline really does get scary sometimes because we do encounter these people that are still very traditional and it's oh, that's great, but that doesn't fit for me. And people still impose their beliefs on us and their judgments and stuff. And yeah, so let's talk about this timeline. So yeah, we see the timeline, right? And we see okay, we see graduate high school, maybe go to college, then get a job, and then in our 20s we should be finding our partner and getting engaged, and then getting a house and everything else, right? But what is it that you want to do, right? What is really something that has been on your mind, whether it is maybe a career shift or it is a move. We have these things, these goals that we want, but we get really overwhelmed because we see the whole timeline. But we need to zoom in and focus. Okay? So focus on this one thing that maybe you're thinking about right now. So let's say it is a move, for example, right? And you have your finances in line maybe, and you have the money, you know where you want to go, but you haven't put any steps out, and that can feel really overwhelming because you're like, okay, I know where I want to go, I got the money, but oh my god, I have no idea where to start, right? And this is what I want to talk about today, where we start. So like I said, we zoom in on this thing that we want, and now we have to take a step. What would the first step be, do you think, for finding a place, figuring out where you want to live? Okay, maybe you would think, I'm gonna do some research online, or I'm gonna drive around and see what area I want to be in and the places that have a for rent sign up. Okay, that might be some of the logical right steps for you. But maybe it is actually just telling people that you want to move and where you're intending to move. Because even though we think we have the first step, sometimes we can make it even smaller and break it down even further instead of having the overwhelm first step of finding the place. That still can seem like a lot. So breaking it down even smaller is so helpful. And like I said, in that case, maybe you are putting feelers out. So start maybe contacting your best friends and people in your community, whatever that might be, whether it's a church or you're in a volunteer group. Kind of mention to them maybe hey, I'm really thinking about moving to this place, do you happen to know any like friends or have any like great areas that like you recommend? And you'll be surprised that a lot of people actually know of somebody, and people, especially if you're a relatively good person, like people want to help you out. Like we want to help each other out. So yeah, that would kind of be the first step in my thoughts of of even getting that process started, right? And maybe you can break it down even smaller. But besides the point, we can oftentimes break down the first step even smaller so that it is even less intimidating, okay? And there's this quote that I want to read to you from the book Atomic Habits. And I kind of mentioned it, I think, in the episode with Bridget. But the quote is, and probably with Nicole too, but the quote is, it reads, the effects of small habits compound over time. For example, if you can get just 1% better each day, you'll end up with results that are nearly 37 times better after 1 year. So just doing 1% towards that goal, whatever it might be, is going to help you be 37 times better than at the beginning of the year, you know? And that's better than nothing. That is better than nothing. That's better than 1% or 0.5%. Okay? So even if we're like, okay, what's the one thing that I can do? Like maybe instead of yesterday I did, I don't know, 10 minutes of walking. Today maybe I can do 11. That's what I would think. That's 1% better. Like you did a little bit more than yesterday, just a slight bit. You are getting there, right? And I think that, I don't know, that quote can be really applied to anything. So whether it is, breaking down your timeline and breaking down your goal further, or just like with anything it can be applied to. Dating, it can be applied to grocery shopping. If you hate grocery shopping, or cooking, every time you hate cooking, like, oh, if this, 1% better if I just do it again, and like maybe this time I'll have a little bit of a better attitude or something, like that's still like 1% better, And I think that, and then there was another quote that I wanted to mention. I'm looking at my notes if you are listening, because now I'm gonna start recording these video wise and put them on my YouTube. And I'll have all the link in the bio. So if you prefer to watch, you can watch. But I mean, it's just me talking to myself, but hey, to each his own. I've been watching some YouTube podcasts because I don't know, like I hate like when I listen to a podcast on Apple and then like I'm like, oh wait, I actually want to listen to this one, but then I like lose the one that I was listening to, and it like messes up the queue that I created or whatever. So I'm just like, so then I hop around on the different platforms now. But the quote is, and this is on my vision board, by the way, which I would show you, but I can't show you through sound, so I'm gonna tell you. Anyway, it says, a little step may be the beginning of a great journey. And I cut that out from a calendar that I had in 2013, probably at this point. Or no, maybe a little bit later, probably 2015 or something. Not that this is relevant at all. I just like to remember dates for some reason. And yeah, it's been a little bit of a reminder. And I know, like, yeah, it's cheesy, but sometimes these cheesy quotes I realize are like actually like, oh shoot, like when we are in that spot, they really resonate, So one tiny freaking step can be the beginning of a great journey. And I think that also applies to me making this, the career shift originally, like from teaching to getting into my my coaching program and everything. So one step, okay? So even though when you think you have it broken down, whatever goal you have, break it down further, okay? And it is, this is coming out on the 1st of March. So, you know what that means? It's a new month. And if you've maybe had set goals in the beginning of the year, or now you're just like, they're not really aligned, and you want to think about some more intentions for this month, maybe think about the steps, each day, break it down and try to zoom in on each of these goals, maybe instead of seeing the whole big picture, because that can be overwhelming. So I hope you took something away from this episode. I hope you liked it. If you did, I would seriously be so grateful if you were able to leave a review for me about the podcast. And that way, more people can find the podcast and it can reach more people so that, we can help educate more people together. And the way that you leave a review is you can search my podcast in the, search bar, and it should come up. And then you scroll, when you see all the episodes, you just scroll to the bottom and you'll see 5 stars that you can choose from. And then you click and then you can write somewhere from there. Okay? I'm not exactly, I haven't rated one in a while. But that's how I realized, because they did kind of shift it around. So if you could leave one, and if you screenshot your review before you press send and you let me know in the DMs, I will definitely send something your way, a little surprise that I'm gonna get together. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, and I really am so grateful that you're here today. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast as well by hitting the little plus so that you can be sure to get this episode into your inbox or whatever we call it every week. Thanks so much. I'm so grateful for you. You've got this, and know I'm here for you, and I will talk to you soon.